Now in this class we will talk about the Minikube and the kubectl. So these two tools are very important for the Kubernetes industry and inside this Kubernetes industry. So before starting the introduction of the Minikube, let me tell you about some idea about what exactly happens in the production environment or in the real world. So in the real world, there will be like many master nodes and the many worker nodes. Just like here you can see in the picture, we have two master nodes and we have different worker nodes, like three worker nodes we have currently in this scenario. Okay, but it can be more and it can be less as well, but not, it will not be easier for us to just create one cluster like this, these kind of. Suppose like the thing is, the node here refers to what? The node here basically refers to the virtual machine or the physical machine. So if you are learning Kubernetes, for you it's not possible to create those kind of to create the virtual machines inside the cloud in the instances like Amazon EC2 instance, or if you will use Azure, then there is virtual machine. So for you it's not possible to do all those things and create one cluster and everything. Okay, so that's why for the testing purpose and the learning purpose, Minikube came in the role. So what is a Minikube? Minikube is nothing but a single node cluster. Okay, here you can see I have written the definition for you. It's a one node cluster where the master process and worker process both will work on a single machine. So here the single machine means on your particular system. Suppose if you want to if you're learning on your Windows PC, then there will be, you will install the Minikube and then you are good to go to learn about the Kubernetes. Okay. So here in the Minikube, we are getting this master process, worker process, and also one benefit is that you get Docker pre-installed with that. Okay. So when you will install Minikube, then you will get Docker pre-installed with that. Okay. So also the thing is like for using the Minikube, you should have the virtualization enabled. Okay, it's like compulsory to work virtualization should be enabled. Okay, and also let's see the how actually it works. So suppose this is your host OS can be your Mac or Windows or the Linux. Okay, and then in that there will be VM, and after that there will be the Minikube. Okay, on that we will install the Minikube. Okay, so this is the overall idea about the Minikube. Okay, so and now let's see about the kubectl. So kubectl, as you are aware, it's nothing but the one of the command line tool which is used to manage the cluster. Okay, so this is the like basic definition of the kubectl. Okay, now we will see how we can install the Minikube and kubectl in the Ubuntu machine. So here I have written all these steps which are required to install the Minikube and kubectl. So before installing the Minikube, you should have Docker installed already. Okay, otherwise if you have not installed Docker, so you can follow the documentation and you can install it easily. And also like why we are using Docker here, because like Docker is easy to use and easy to like Minikube will work easily with the help of Docker when we will use the Docker as a driver. Okay, so also you can use VirtualBox, but there is little bit of complications and all. That's why we are not using VirtualBox here, because we are running the Ubuntu machine in VirtualBox itself, so that will be very complex process. So that's why we are going with the Docker. So let's start with the installation. So here what you can do, you can just search for the Docker install in Ubuntu. Okay, and you will get here on the official documentation of the Docker. From here you can just follow. Like if you have already installed the Docker, then you can just copy up this command and you are just good to go. So I just demonstrate you. Actually I have already installed Docker, so let's do it. And then you can do just sudo apt get update. Then we have this one. You just have to copy and paste thing, that's it, and then you can install Docker easily. Okay, done. Next you have to do this gpg key. Okay, next this line you have to do curl command. Okay, wait a minute. Yeah. Okay, here actually it's asking me to overwrite, so actually we have already installed, so that's why it's showing. You can just put it yes, but in your case it will not ask you. And next what we have to do, we have to give the certain permission for that file. So you can just give it using this command. Next you have to use this command to set up the repository. Okay, done. Next what we have to do, we have to update. So we can do it using sudo apt get update. And then you have to install the Docker engine. So that's one is also important step. You can just do like this, done. And next we have to nothing, we just have to run this hello world command to check whether Docker installed or not. So here you can see Docker installed successfully, that's why. You can just use the command Docker and check. So here you can see we are getting some of the information or what commands you will need to use. So just clear the screen. So with that we finally installed Docker successfully. Next, moving forward, we have Minikube and kubectl installation. So for the Minikube, sorry, here there is a mistake, like we have written VirtualBox, but here we need to write the sorry, what we have to write, Docker. You can write like this with Docker setup. Move on the installation. Okay, installing Minikube on your Ubuntu system. So what we need to do, first of all, you will need to download the latest Minikube binary by using this wget command. So you can just copy up this command. I can provide these in the comment or description section. Okay, just copy it and you can just paste it here, and it will install sorry, it will download this file Minikube Linux AMD64. So actually I have already installed it, Minikube, and also you can, like, I will demonstrate you how you can do it. Okay, so it will take some time to download that file. Just let's wait and let's move forward. What we have to do next, what we have to do, you have to just copy this file to this directory user local bin Minikube. Okay, so what for that, what command you have to use, sudo cp. Cp is the command to copy, and then the file name and the location. So just copy it, and next you can just do that one, and you're good to go. Okay, and next what we have to do, we have to give the certain permission to that file. So we can do it like this, sudo chmod 755, done. Okay, you can check that as well. We will go in that directory user local bin and ls-l. We let me just increase the size and let me just clear the screen. ls-l, if we do, here you can see this Minikube. Okay, and it has the read write permission. Okay, this is the execute permission. Okay, fine, cool. So that part is done. Let's move forward. What we have to do, you have to check the version of that Minikube. So if it comes, then it means you have successfully installed the Minikube. So here you can see its version is showing this 1.3.30.1. Okay, you can just ignore this. This is just a warning. You have to just ignore it. Moving forward, we have to what we have to install the kubectl. So for kubectl as well, also we will follow the same thing. We will just copy all those things, and then you have to just install the kubectl as well. Let me just come up on the home. Okay, done. So it will just fetch all those things whatever it's required. And next what you have to do, install the kubectl using this command sudo install, and then you can use the kubectl easily. Okay, here you can go. And now let's check for the kubectl version. Here also you can see it's showing the all those things like version 5.0.1. Okay, so here it's showing because we have not started the Minikube right now, so that's why it's showing me this error. Let me just close it. So finally we have installed the kubectl and Minikube. Okay, so let's see some of the things, like we will just start the Minikube using the driver. You need to provide the driver what we have to use. So driver will be equal to docker. Here you can see pulling base media starting existing docker container. So actually I had already made one container. So what we can do, we can just I will just delete those nodes. Okay, so it will delete, it will take some time, and then we will again create. Let's clear this screen and we will just hit enter. So it will create. So keep in mind you should have two CPUs enabled, like in the system setting of your what we say, when you will go in the settings, and here you can see in the system, you can see in the processor tab you should have more than two CPUs, that three CPUs. Okay, so these things you should keep in mind. Okay, so it's creating. Let's see. It doesn't take much time, like it's first time. In your case also it can take much time. Okay, so here you can see kubectl is now configured to use Minikube cluster and default namespace by default. Okay, so it means like we can use kubectl now. Okay, so if we will check for the status, so you can check the status with this command status. So here you can see all those things are running. So in this way we finally install the Minikube and the kubectl. So let's start this particular class. Here I have the command example and the description. So we have so many commands, so we will see some of the commands in this today's session. So without wasting time, let's begin. Okay, so I have my Ubuntu machine running here. You can just open up the terminal with the shortcut that is Control Alt T. Let me just increase the size so that it will be visible to you. Okay, I hope that much is fine. Okay, so now the very first command which we see is the minikube start. Okay, so what does this basically command does? So as you are aware of what is minikube, minikube is the one node cluster which is having the master and the worker both included in the one. Okay, so basically it will start the cluster. Okay, so when you will do the minikube start, it will take some time and then it will start. If you are running it the first time, okay, then it's fine. Actually I'm also running it for the first time, so it takes usually some of the time. Okay, so we will wait for it for the completion. Okay, so till then let's see some of the commands, okay, which we have here. So here you can see with the first command that we have is the minikube start. Here you can read the description, like what it does. It starts the local Kubernetes cluster using the minikube, like we had already installed it. And then using the stop, it stops the minikube. Then status, it will display the status of that particular cluster, and then delete and all everything. Okay, so let's see. Here you can see we have cluster creator and minikube has been started. Okay, so here we can see about further commands. Let's see if we do minikube status now here. Why it's not running? Minikube status. Okay. So here you can see the type is control plane, the host is running, kubelet is running, API server is running, kube config configured. Okay. So here you can just see some of the terms like API server, kubelet. Okay, all these terms like what you know about the what API server is now. Like we have already discussed it. Like if we use API server to communicate with the cluster. Okay. So here you can see using the minikube status command, you can check the status of the cluster, what's the current status. If you will do minikube stop, so it will just stop the cluster if I do it. So let's see what it does. Here you can see powering off the minikube. And also if you look at the table here, like we have delete, so it will delete the cluster. Okay, then we have IP, it will display the IP and SSH. Okay, so let's do all those things. So here you can see minikube is now stopped. If you will check for the status now, let's see what it shows. So here you can see everything is stopped now. So again, to start the cluster, what you can do, you can just enter the command like minikube start. It will again restart the cluster. Okay, like now it will not create the cluster, it will just restart the whatever the cluster which we had created just now with that command. Like this I was running first time, that's why it was creating the docker container and everything, like CPUs to memory, this much is required, all those things. Okay, So here you can see now it's just restarting existing Docker container for Minikube. Okay, so here you can see it's done now. Now if you'll check the status, so you will get it's running perfectly fine. Everything is running. Okay, now moving forward, let's check the Minikube IP command. Okay, so it displays the IP of that particular cluster. Like we use this IP for using some of the services like which we look in this particular class and further. Okay, so next we have is the let me check. Minikube SSH is there and delete is there, so we will not use delete right now. Till then let me show you SSH. So SSH is basically used to, it will connect to the virtual machine of that like Minikube. Like whenever you install the Minikube in your PC or in your Ubuntu machine, so at that time what happens, one VM is also created in that Minikube. So with Minikube SSH you can connect to that particular VM. So here you can write any Linux command which we use. Like here you can see who am I. So here you can see it says Docker. If you do like if you want to create some file like cat desktop tst, this is a test file, so it will, if you do ls, so here you can see the file has been created. Okay, you can read file as well. So in this way you can use the docker. Okay, docker is like minikube ssh. So to exit you can just write the exit command and you will just log off. Okay, so you can use this Minikube SSH also to connect to the Docker VM. Okay, or actually it is used for the debugging and testing purpose as. Okay, so moving forward, we have now we have covered all this Minikube commands. Let me move forward in the kubectl. Okay, so what is kubectl? Like we know that kubectl is a command line tool that we use to communicate with the cluster. Okay, so you can use the command like kubectl version. Okay, sorry, what it says, command kubectl from snap kubectl snap info forward is the version. Okay, let me just check again. Just kubectl. Okay, fine, it's there, it's running. I think there was some mistake in the command. Okay, version. Okay, leave it. You can use kubectl to get the cluster info using this command. So here you can see you can get the cluster info, whatever the cluster is running, you can get the info. And also the important part here is that like for the running of the kubectl, your minikube should also run. It's not like your minikube is not running and then you are trying to run this kubectl command. So in that case it will not work. Okay, we will check that. If I stop the minikube, okay, it's stopping, and okay, let's wait. Okay, now when you will try kubectl cluster info, so in that case you can see you are getting so much of error, like the connection to the server was refused and all those things. So that's why we should have Minikube in the background. Okay, so Minikube is started again. Okay, so Minikube has been started here, you can see, and now we can use kubectl again. So now let's see the table and we will do the we will run those particular commands. So here you can see kubectl get pods. What it does, it retrieves information about Kubernetes resources like pods, deployments, and services. Okay, so here you can see many things we have. Okay, also we have this create command. Okay, so it just creates the new deployment for nginx web server. So what we will do, we will do this one. So how we can do it, so for that we have to just this clear the screen and let's run the command like kubectl create, and then we have the what we want to create, what service we want to create, deployment, and then we can just write the name, like we can write the deployment name as the nginx, and the image which we want to use, like we want to image as nginx. So here if you are aware of the Docker, then that time like that will be very helpful, because the here image refers to that the Docker Hub images. Okay, so whatever the images you create, and whatever the images you want to upload to the Docker Hub, and if you want to use those images, then you can use it from this, like using this command. Okay, so let's hit enter, and here you can see we have this nginx created. If you will see for the kubectl get deployment, so here you can see we have nginx, it's not ready yet. Okay, so it's not ready yet. And also we can check for the kubectl get pods. So here you can see one container has been created. Okay, container creating, like it's creating. So what happens whenever you are deploying any kind of resource, like any kind of whatever resources. Okay, so at that time what is basically is happening in the background, like we have learned about the Kubernetes architecture, like we have the pods, and inside pods we have container running, and so many things like replicas is created, and that replicas is maintained by that the managers. Okay, so basically what happening is here the same thing is here, like when you are doing the deployment, then pods is creating and the replica is also creating. So here when you use it by default without providing the replica, okay, so replica in the command, so what happens for that time, there basically only one replica is created. Okay, but when if you will provide hyphen hyphen replica is equal to whatever the number, then at that time what will happen, that particular number of replicas will be created. So this is the basic overview of this command. Okay, so let me again check. So here you can see the pod is running, and you can check for deployment also, it's also ready. So now what we can do, we can just expose this deployment as a service. So what does it mean? So basically we want to use this now nginx servers, we want to use this nginx server. How you do it? So for that also we have this kubectl expose. It's like we have this in the table. You can check. Here you can see kubectl expose deployment nginx type equal to node port. So here you can see what it does, creates a new node port service for a deployment named nginx. So basically the node port service, it simply means like that exposes the ports of the deployment to the specified ports. Okay, so we will define some of the port number, like here 80 is provided, but basically what happens, like whenever you try to get the URL, at that time the cluster basically defines their port between the 13,000 to some 32k thousand ports number. Okay, so this is the basic thing. So let's just run this command, and then we will be able to use the nginx servers from our web browser. So how we can do it? Expose deployment, and then we need to provide the name of the deployment. The name of the deployment we have nginx. Okay, and then the type equal to node port. If we don't provide the port number, then also it's fine, it's not mandatory to define. So you can just hit enter. Oh sorry, it's mandatory. I thought it's not mandatory, sorry for that. Okay, we define some port equal to 80. Okay, now service is exposed, and now you can check for the kubectl get services. Okay, oh sorry. Okay, so here you can see now this nginx service has been created. Okay, and here port you can see this one. Okay, 80 3543, all these things. And now for getting the URL, what you can do, minikube service, and the whatever the name is there, nginx is there, and hyphen hyphen URL, it will give you the URL, and then you can access these things. So here you can see the port number which we are getting is 3543. Okay, so it basically what is happening, just a redirecting. Okay, so let's see where we go. Okay, here you have to just enter the URL, and here you can see the welcome to nginx is the web page, the default web page we are. getting. Okay, so now just we will revert back to the things, like we will just remove the services, and then we will try to access the web pages. Let then see whether we are able to access it or not, that nginx web page. So to delete, the command is kubectl delete, and the resource and that is services, and then the name is nginx. So here you can see nginx is deleted. Again we will come upon here, let me reload it. So still we are able to access. Okay, so let me just again check. Okay, it is deleted. Now we will just delete the deployment. So how we can do it? Deployment. Okay, so deployment is also deleted. Now let's check. Okay, here you can see now we are not able to connect to that particular IP. So in this way you can use the multiple kubectl commands. Okay, we have so many, like here you can see kubectl logs and kubectl delete. We did delete right now. Let's check for the logs, what it shows. Okay, log is there, I mean, did you mean logs? Okay, so here you can see expected, what it's saying. If we do -h, okay, we are doing something wrong, I guess. Okay, kubectl all containers logs in the pods. Okay, if we do control C and we do this one, so here you can see, uh, okay, okay, let's see some of them, like what we have here, -c. Okay, so let's check the pods what we have. Okay, okay, we have deleted the all the deployment. That's why we are not able to get the pods details. Okay, okay, got it. Okay, that's why we were not able to just get this output of that, and we were getting the error. Okay, so that's all for today's class, and I hope you liked it. If you have any query, you can ask us in the comment section. Thank you for watching, and I'll meet you in the next class. Thank you.